Talk, a program we hope will have an impact on the future of Kenya. Now more than ever, I'm Jeff Koinange, and yes, I'm back. Now, it seems like deja vu all over again. Barely 5 months ago, on this very page, then Finance Minister Amos Kimunya said, famous quote, "I would rather die than resign." Now we're hearing there are MPs out there who are about to issue a motion of sanction to the Minister of Agriculture. Why? Because of the looming maize scandal. The minister says he's not going to resign. He says there's no scandal. Kenyans are up in arms. What's going on? I've been away only a few weeks. Looks like everything is coming undone. My guest today, 7 a.m. on a Monday morning, was speaking. Minister of Agriculture himself, Parliament will Gordon, he battled. Minister himself is on the bench to come and clear his name or tell us what's going on. Welcome, William Samoei Ruto. Sir, 7 a.m. Thank you so much for showing up on Monday morning like this. I know there's a lot of clamor out there. Everybody, I just read the headlines on my way here. People are in investigation of what's going on. I've been away just a few. What's going on, sir?
Well, Mother Karua and her lot believe, and I've always believed, that I should not hold any office. And like never before, it's now clear to me that this is not about the maize cow. This is about William Ruto and the political future of this country. Why do I say that? This started 3 weeks ago, and the allegations then was 890 million worth of maize had been lost by the National Cereals and Produce Board. Now it has come down to, whether it is lost or not, William Ruto should resign, because for the 3 weeks of debate, nobody has proved, and in fact, I have proven to the country that not a single bag of maize was lost by the National Cereals and Produce Board. Not a single bag of maize was sold and money not recovered by the National Cereals and Produce Board. And in fact, the new allegation that subsidized maize was sold to traders and brokers is not true. All the maize that was sold by the National Cereals and Produce Board was bought at 1,300 and sold at 1,700. All the subsidized maize that was imported into this country, courtesy of my request to government, was not sold. Not a single bag was sold to brokers or traders. It was my decision to sell when it was necessary to only millers. It was my decision. The government decision that said only millers should buy maize from the National Cereals and Produce Board was my decision. The government decision was mine. Therefore, anybody alleging that maize was not supposed to have been sold to anybody else except millers is basically using my statement upside down. And let me say this, since it is now clear that it is not about maize, because they came with the allegations that maize was lost. It was not. They came with the allegations that maize was picked at the National Cereals and Produce Board and not paid for. That is also not true. They again have come now to say that the new allegation is that subsidized maize was sold to traders. That is not true. They came even with a weird allegation that Africa Merchant Assurance Company, AMACO, a company in which I have shares, sold gunny bags to the National Cereals and Produce Board. Jeff, AMACO did not apply, did not tender, did not sell, not one bag to the National Cereals and Produce Board. In fact, AMACO does not have any business relationship or indeed any other relationship with the National Cereals and Produce Board. AMACO has not even sold a pencil to the National Cereals and Produce Board.
So what are you saying? You're saying all this is a witch hunt?
To me, it is clear. Mother Karua requested me about 2.5, 3 months ago for a meeting. And we met in her friend's place. And she wanted us to discuss politics and 2012. On 2 occasions, I refused. I met her, yes, and I refused. I didn't know it was going to boil down to this. And I want to ask some very serious questions here. Because it is now very clear to me that Mother Karua has come out herself to now say William Ruto should resign. And she is saying, since she has failed to prove that maize got lost, or maize was picked without being paid, or maize was subsidized maize was sold to traders or businessmen, now she says, whether it happened or not, I should resign on the basis of something called political accountability. Yeah, which I wouldn't mind, considering. But as I do that, because we don't want a country that is run on double speak or double standards or selective memory, would she consider herself resigning? Because the pre-election perpetrators, if I may say, the people who manipulated the Electoral Commission, under her watch, the Electoral Commission was squarely in her department when the Electoral Commission was manipulated and eventually became the single reason why the people of this country fought. Is she willing to take political responsibility? Number one. Number two, just this last week, the government of Kenya lost the case on Anglo leasing because the government did not supply sufficient information to the investigators. Departments in her ministry failed to supply necessary information so that the perpetrators of Anglo leasing can be brought to book. In the same vein, is she willing? Is she prepared? What is she doing about taking political responsibility for the loss of billions of shillings because of inadequacies in information that was provided by her departments? And lastly, right? And lastly, she herself has admitted that the war against corruption is as good as lost. She has been Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs for the last 3 years. Under her docket, the fight against corruption is squarely imprinted. What about her taking responsibility? In her own words, she has admitted that this is about taking political responsibility. And she has admitted that we have virtually lost the war against corruption. Why doesn't she consider taking political responsibility if we are not a country of double standards or double speak?
We'll come to Martha in a moment. I know it's getting really personal now, but bottom line, are you going to resign?
Jeff, I have said before, there are people who think I should not be minister. They have to look for reason, concrete reason, why I should not be minister. They cannot push me to resign on the basis of information that is not true, half-truths, that is outright falsehood. I mean, if I were to take a resignation at this point, what would I be telling the country? That William Ruto is guilty? Of course I'm not.
Exactly where you're sitting, where he said the exact same thing. We're not going to resign. I would rather die. But then the very next day, he stepped aside so that investigations could go on the way. And eventually he was reinstated. Why not go that route?
For Amos Kimunya, he took the steps he took, right? Because Parliament passed a motion of censure against him. That's one. Khalwale and his lot and his group pushed charges against him. They said 3 things. Number 1, they said the hotel was sold illegally. Number 2, the hotel was undervalued. Number 3, there was corruption. Kimunya pocketed part of the money. Parliament, in fact, there was nobody in Parliament who raised a finger, not even one, when that motion came, because the country was half persuaded that indeed Kimunya had done that. 5 months of investigation, Jeff. The report comes to Parliament. There is no proof that Kimunya pocketed part of the money. There was no evidence that the hotel was undervalued. There was no evidence that the sale was, that the transaction was illegal. I mean, so what happened finally? So Kimunya was returned to cabinet. So if these people can squarely put the issues they have raised, I would be willing to consider resigning.
At the same time, if this motion passes this week, and they say it could be as early as this week, then what? If Khalwale, the same Khalwale, passes a motion against you, fellow ODM.
He's not ODM. Khalwale is not ODM.
He's part of that.
No. Khalwale runs a party called New Something.
Right.
New Fort Kenya.
Yes, but
and he's part of the PNU group.
Yes, but this unofficial opposition.
Yes.
Is going after you, going after everybody.
No, Khalwale is going after me as a person. He once insinuated in Parliament that he was speaking as the chairman of Public Accounts Committee. He had to retract because he was lying to the country that he was speaking as chairman of Public Accounts Committee. He is driving his own vendetta as a person. I have responded to all the issues he's raised. All of them. Not even one. And none of the issues he has raised has any legs to stand on.
If this motion passes,
I will take the necessary steps then.
it also looks like, Mr. that the captain, the Prime Minister, the chairman of ODM, the leader, is also distancing himself from you, sort of, because his brother has now over the weekend came out and openly said Ruto should resign. Why do you think they're distancing themselves?
I think that question you'd do well putting it to them, to either the Prime Minister or to Honorable Oburu Odinga. I want to believe that Oburu Odinga speaks for himself. I have discussed this matter with the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is aware as the supervisor and coordinator of government business, as the chairman of the ad hoc committee on food security in the country, of every steps I have made as Minister for Agriculture with respect to this particular food crisis. Let me also say the following, Jeff. If we were a country that were looking for not scapegoats, but the real issues, we have hunger in our country today, not because some businessmen bought 100,000 bags of maize or 300,000 bags of maize in a manner that they didn't deserve, right? We have hunger in this country because of 4 concrete reasons. Number one, we lost 3.5 million bags because of the post-election violence. Number two, we lost 40% of our farmland because the farmers were either in IDP camps as displaced persons, or they did not manage to get to their farms. Number three, the prices of fertilizer and farm inputs in general, including fuel, went up 2 or 3 times. Therefore, farmers who used to apply 2 bags of fertilizer either applied 1 or none. The net effect was that last year, we harvested 25 million bags instead of the usual 32 million bags. We lost between 6 and 7 million bags of maize. Number 3, we have a global food crisis. It is not about Kenya. It's about a global food crisis. These are the real reasons why we have hunger in the country. And for your information, Jeff, I, as minister, I have not slept. The first thing I did when I got to the Ministry of Agriculture, assessing the problem as it was, I took very urgent measures. Number one, I forgot, the fifth reason is because we have insufficient strategic grain reserves. We have 4 million bags, which is a figure that was estimated about 25 years ago, right? So what did I do? Number one, immediately I got into office, I raised the alarm to government and asked government to import at least 3 million bags in the short term. Money for 1.5 million bags was provided. I took the next step. I requested government to enhance the strategic grain reserve, and government agreed from 4 million to 8 million. None other than the president himself announced that increase.
And you're getting very little credit for that. I'm sure everyone, the vultures seem to be circling under the smoke screen of the maize cycle. But I want to talk more about it because we'll take a break. My guest today, the embattled Minister for Agriculture and the Department for Eldoret North, Honorable William Samoei Ruto. He says he would consider resigning if facts on the table right now. He says it's just a personal vendetta by certain individuals, and he's staying put for now. Wow, what a show! We are back. This is Capital Talk only on K24. Don't go away. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to Capital Talk. We're beginning this week on a roll. We have the embattled Minister for Agriculture, Honorable William Samoei Ruto. Everyone's calling for his resignation. He says he's not going anywhere unless proof is put on the table. He's just doing his job. He says there are a lot of enemies out there, a lot of people who just don't like this man. That's my first question. Is what is it about people and you? They have this love, hate, or just hate relationship. What is it?
I think they should be able to answer because I deal straight. I don't mince my words. And on this particular issue, I mean, many people may be wondering, why is William Ruto taking this position? By the way, resignation is a very easy thing for me. I got a life. But I will not dignify the perpetrators of this open vendetta against me with my resignation. I have said categorically, I have discharged my responsibility as Minister for Agriculture to the best of my ability and in the best interest of the people of Kenya.
Let me ask you this. Sorry, when you got this docket about a year or so ago, less than a year ago, everyone's like, oh, this is perfect for Ruto because he's from Rift Valley, agriculture, and the bread basket, perfect for him. There are others who also say this is the perfect ministry to set this man up for failure. You are walking into a lion's den because this ministry, you cannot please everybody and end up getting your knees cut. What do you say?
Let me tell you, that was said. But unfortunately for those who thought that they would use this ministry against me, that I was going to fail, they must be in shock that I did not fail. In fact, I discharged the responsibilities of the Minister of Agriculture like it has never been done before. Let me also tell you that I managed to assemble and gazette the first ever rules for the tea sector. Ever since tea was introduced in this country in the last century, there has never been rules under the Tea Act. I managed to come and put it together, and in a record 3 months, today we have rules that guide how to do the tea business. And let me tell you, Jeff, politics being what it is, and I'm prepared to take it head on. My record at the Ministry of Agriculture speaks for itself. This maize issue that has been raised has no facts. I have clearly enumerated, tabled the issues. They started with 800 million lost. They now are vague. They are not saying it was lost. They are not saying whether it was lost or not, whether the issues are correct or not, you should resign. I mean, really, let's be clear. Let's be factual. Let's face the facts. And if ever, Jeff, we are going to fight corruption or solve the problems of this country, we are not going to solve it this way. We are not going to solve it through political intrigue or evil designs or scheming that tries to eliminate people as you look at the future. Really, because we have a deficiency in leadership. There are people who want to recruit us into issues of 2012. I have said categorically, and I have gone public about it, that we cannot engage in the business of 2012. We have business to do. We have pledges that we made. We have an accord that we have signed. There is a new constitution that we must tackle. There are issues that are so dear to the people of Kenya that we must attend to. Those are the issues that matter at the moment. Let me ask Jeff a very basic question. Assuming, for argument's sake, because all the maize that was out of the 2 million bags that was sold between July and October when this problem started, all the maize that was sold between that time is 2 million bags. Out of that 2 million bags, 1.6 was sold to millers, 400,000 was sold to traders, the kibors and the what have you. Assuming, for argument's sake, because we want to solve the problem of hunger, assuming that it is true 400,000 bags was sold unprocedurally, assuming that that is true, how did 400,000 become the cause of a problem where we need 10 million bags? If the 400,000 bags was not sold to these undeserving traders, would Kenya be different today? It would not. I mean, how do you solve a problem requiring 10 million bags using 400,000 bags? I mean, let's be honest. The facts are not right. The reasons for hunger have been distorted. The reasons why there is food deficit in the country have been distorted. And this is precisely why we will never solve these problems, because we never go for the real issues. We look for the scapegoats. We have hunger in Kenya because William Ruto colluded with some businessmen to sell maize. We have hunger in Kenya, Jeff, for a totally different reason. That is not the reason. The reason is we have had poor planning. We should have strategic reserves that would buffer this country from a scenario like this. We have rain-fed agriculture that depends on the weather. The program we have put in place now, with the new funding that has been approved by government, we should be able to upscale our research and our irrigated agriculture. That is the direction we should go. Concrete, long-term, focused issues, not creating scapegoats.
Yeah. Is there any relief anytime soon as you go from this food crisis? Do you see us pulling out anytime soon?
We will be here for a while because we have put in place a program to import food to the country. But the importation of food is plagued by high international prices of food. Maize is getting here on average at about 2,600, 2,700, 2,900. So for quite a while, until we have our own harvest in September, October, we will still be in a problem. And I want to tell you, Jeff, that as Minister for Agriculture, I have made adequate arrangements for us to produce the food we normally do. I have made sure that farmers have adequate fertilizer, affordable. I have made sure that they are properly, we have incentives for farmers to produce. We have put in program in a place to ensure that they have adequate financing, either through our own Agricultural Finance Corporation or through the partnership we have with Equity Bank. I have made sure that we have distributorships of all the necessary farm inputs so that we can produce food as a country, because that is the solution that is permanent and that is long-lasting.
That asking you also this week, Parliament, we're voting on the bill to either have a local tribunal or let this thing go to the Hague. I'm talking about the perpetrators of those alleged violence, of which, again, your name has come up time and time again. What would you prefer?
Jeff, I have made my position very clear that I abhor violence, and I don't think violence should be used as a tool to acquire political office. I have said that as a country we have to agree, and I am prepared for any of the channels that we use. If we decide to take it to the Hague, the better for me and the better for the country, so that we can have even, clear, impartial mechanism of resolving this particular issue. If we decide on setting up the local tribunal and it's above board, and it is fair, let's move ahead. But I want to also say, as we do that, so that we don't look like we are uneven, what happens to the people whose actions or inactions fomented and precipitated the disagreements that eventually degenerated into the violence that we got engulfed in? I mean, they have something to answer to the country. Whether they manipulated political office or whether they manipulated government bureaucracy to defeat, because eventually it was a defeat of the democratic will of the people of Kenya. I mean, those are issues we should really, so that we don't become a country of doublespeak, you know, or selective justice. But to answer your question directly, local tribunal or The Hague, all is game for me.
You're ready.
Yes.
And
Your message to people like Martha, again, you mentioned earlier in the show. What do you tell people like that who are literally going after you? Now they're going for the jugular, they smell the blood, they're going for the kill.
I want to tell them that they won't succeed. If this is the way they think they are going to get to higher office, if this is the way they think they are going to eliminate people they consider their potential competitors, they will not succeed. Their evil designs will end up to a naught.
When you first got into politics, I can't literally ask, when you first got into, did you think it would be this hot, this time, so quickly, so soon?
I didn't think, but in politics, you expect anything. And they used to say there are no rules, but we have to work towards setting up the rules. For the moment, because this is how we have chosen to play it, let's proceed.
You also say there's no enemies, no such thing as enemies in politics. You and Martha could be friends very soon too.
I would, that's true. There are no enemies, and you just need to work with people who have principle, who believe in something, and who don't use underhand means to try and achieve what they are looking for.
Bottom line, you're staying put, you're not going anywhere.
Bottom line, I'm here.
as minister.
As Minister for Agriculture, I'm here.
Mheshimiwa, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Good job.
Good grief, and it's only Monday. The embattled Minister for Agriculture says he's here to stay as minister. He's not going anywhere. And anyone who has anything to say against him, he says, bring it on. Wow. What a show. What a guest. What a week it's going to be. You can only get that kind of stuff right here on Capital Talk only on the award-winning station 824. Where we are. All Kenya.
All the time.
Capital Talk is recorded at the Fairview Hotel, the country hotel in town.